This is our top story at this hour. It's going to be a crunch day today at the British Parliament, as the Prime Minister will have to defend his premiership. In a few minutes from now, Prime Minister Boris Johnson will face weekly questioning session in the House of Commons. Today's Parliament session comes after the revelation of another secret lockdown party held at the Prime Minister's residence. The Conservative Party members are watching the growing list of secret parties held at the Downing Street. A number of Tories have openly expressed anger and humiliation against the recent party allegations. The opposition politicians have called for Boris Johnson to resign, and others have called on him to come clean and apologise in the hope of stemming rising fury. Apart from politicians, the Conservative Party supporters and donors have expressed disdain over the latest revelations. A major Conservative donor, John Caldwell, has issued an ultimatum to Boris Johnson saying, "Sort it out or step aside." John Caldwell is the founder of Phones for You, who had donated £500,000 to the Conservatives ahead of the 2019 general election. Let's talk more about Boris Johnson's wars, and for this, our correspondent Benji Haya is joining us live on this broadcast. Good to see you, Benji. Is this session going to be a make or break for the Prime Minister? As it is, Boris Johnson declines to say whether he attended the gathering or not.
It might very well be, yes, because he's coming under intense scrutiny and pressure, especially this morning. It is going to be arguably the most important Prime Minister's questions to date, and potentially also the hardest day politically of his tenure as Prime Minister. Keir Starmer, the leader of the opposition Labour Party, is out of his COVID-19 isolation. It means he'll be present and available to question and push Prime Minister Boris Johnson on whether he attended that Bring Your Own Booze party in May 2020, when the rest of the country were following the rules that the government had imposed, and those rules restricting social gatherings. Here in number 10, though, allegations that dozens of people gathered to celebrate, and that was not the only occasion. Accusations that there were about a dozen other breaches of lockdowns within the walls of number 10 that Boris Johnson might have to answer. Keir Starmer and the rest of the Labour Party adamant that the Prime Minister's position is completely untenable, and that sentiment has been shared by many of the front pages in the UK today. The Daily Mail, a paper that is normally favourable towards the Prime Minister's Conservative Party, writing that the party might be over for the Prime Minister. And Boris Johnson really only has two options today. The first is to continue taking the line that he has done, that he can add no further comment to these different allegations whilst an investigation by the civil service is underway. The second, though, is that he recognises that the pressure has just built up too much, that he goes cap in hand, that he shows contrition, and that in front of his own MPs, in front of the whole of the House of Commons and the country, he apologises.
Right. Benji, questions are being raised about the role of the civil service too in the whole party fiasco. Maybe you can tell us more about that, and what significance will this controversy have on Boris Johnson's leadership going forward?
Well, this is a really complicated one. The civil service, of course, independent from government, independent from number 10, effectively the administrative bodies that help run government, that allow it to function. And one of the senior members of the civil service is the person responsible for leading that investigation into this particular party and the many others that are alleged to happen. It was previously someone else in that position that then had to step down because he himself was alleged to have attended one of those parties. The email as well that was sent inviting as many as 100 people to this alleged party in May of 2020 coming from Boris Johnson's own staff. So again, questions over kind of the relationship between the people inside number 10 and the civil service and those investigating, and definitely those need to be ironed out as the investigation continues, and questions might be asked about what person was leading the investigation and those that had contributed if the investigation finds Boris Johnson not responsible or not to have attended that specific party. Of course, if he is found to have attended that party, and really only he can answer that unless proof is provided otherwise, then even his own backbenchers, his own MPs are saying that he is not going to be the person that should lead the country forward and that he should step aside, because what it would prove, in a sense, is that he has broken the law, and surely someone that is making the law should be not someone that is also breaking it. And you have to remember the context here. Boris Johnson, only a month before that a party of May 2020, was in hospital with COVID-19 himself. This was a time when the rest of the country was locked down. People were only really allowed to visit one other person outdoors. People were having to effectively say goodbye to relatives over the phone, over Zoom, over Skype. It was a time when people were making significant sacrifices, and it's a real punch in the gut for those sorts of individuals to see their elected officials allegedly breaching those very regulations that they were forced to keep themselves.
Our correspondent Benji Haya talking to us there. Thank you very much, Benji, for your insights. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.